Hi, I'm Chaya, and this is a story about the time I fell for a guy who turned out to like someone I never expected. Yeah, I know how that sounds, but let me start from the beginning. It was one of those lazy Sundays where you just exist. I was sprawled on the sofa, half awake, scrolling endlessly through my phone, when my brother's voice came from the kitchen. Chaya, go get the groceries. I'm making lunch. Locke shouted. I groaned without even lifting my head. No way! I haven't even bathed yet. Then I'll tell mom, he said, and I could hear the smirk in his voice. He knew my weakness. 5 minutes later, I was out the door. Hoodie, pajamas, slippers, messy bun. The full don't talk to me outfit. And, and just when I thought I'd slip through the street unnoticed, life decided to have some fun. Chaya, I froze. There they were, my college friends, bright, dressed up, and way too energetic for a Sunday. They waved. I waved back, awkwardly, clutching the grocery bag like a shield. Inside, I was screaming. Why does the universe choose moments like this? Why not when I actually brush my hair? Still, I smiled. Because pretending everything's fine is easier than explaining the hoodie, the slippers, and the total absence of dignity. At the grocery store, I was lazily checking out instant noodles when I froze. Right near the gate stood possibly the most handsome man on earth. Tall, well dressed, glowing skin, perfect jawline. He looked like he just stepped out of a perfume commercial. Without thinking, I ducked behind the racks. Not today, universe, I whispered to myself. Not when I look like a sleep deprived raccoon. And then a light tap on my shoulder. I turned. It was him. Excuse me, he said with a polite smile, reaching past me to grab something from the shelf. I froze completely, probably resembling a malfunctioning robot. He walked away as if nothing happened, while I tried to remember how breathing worked. At the billing counter, I heard someone call, Rohan! I turned. The same guy glanced back, smiled faintly, handed a coke to his friend, and walked out. The next day at college, Rimi and I were sitting near the basketball court, pretending to study but mostly gossiping about life, when the universe decided to play its next trick. I froze mid sentence. Rimi, I whispered. That's him. Rimi's head snapped up, her grin widened. Oh, the grocery store guy. He's real? I nodded, trying hard not to blush, which obviously made me blush even more. Later that day, as we walked through the corridor, Remy decided to turn my life into a rom com. She nudged me. No, shoved me. I stumbled right as he walked by. Rohan turned, eyes meeting mine for half a second, just long enough to send my brain into a reboot. And then he simply looked away. I sighed, cheeks burning. Yeah, I muttered under my breath. Definitely not my league. That evening, Rimi, Laksh, and I were walking home when Rimi suddenly elbowed me. Don't look, she whispered. He's staring at you. Obviously, I looked. Across the street stood Rohan, hands in his pockets, calm, confident, and unmistakably looking right at me. For a second, the world went quiet. Just the sound of my heartbeat, and well, Rimi trying not to squeal beside me. Rimi laughed so hard, she nearly dropped her bag. My cheeks burned. I quickly looked away, pretending to adjust my hoodie like it was the most fascinating thing on earth. When we reached home, Remy couldn't hold it anymore. She practically screamed, He totally likes you! I tried to play it cool. Relax, I said, shrugging. Maybe we just made eye contact. But the truth? I was already smiling like an idiot. The next day, I may or may not have spent an extra 10 minutes getting ready. Lip gloss, my favorite top. Not for him, obviously. Just, coincidence. But the whole day went by and no sign of Mr. Perfume ad face until I passed the art class. There he was, laughing with his friends, sleeves rolled up, the easy smile doing unnecessary damage to my heart. He's a senior, I muttered to myself, standing there like a creeper. Then a tap on my shoulder. I turned. It was him again. Hi, he said, smiling. I'm Rohan. For a second, my brain just blue screened. I, uh, uh, Chaya, I stammered. He chuckled softly. Would you like to grab a coffee after college? Every logical cell in my body screamed, play it cool. But my mouth went, sure. He smiled again. And I swear, the hallway suddenly felt like a scene out of a movie. Except my heart was racing louder than the background music. That evening, we sat in a small, cozy cafe, the kind that smelled like coffee, rain, and background jazz. I don't know what surprised me more, how easy he was to talk to, or how time just slipped away. He was kind, funny, a little shy, and his voice soft but confident, the kind that made you want to keep listening. Then, out of nowhere, he leaned in slightly and asked, so, you live with your boyfriend? I almost choked on my coffee. Boyfriend? You know, that's my brother Laksh. His eyes went wide. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. I totally thought. It's fine, I said, laughing. You assume a lot. He laughed too. That kind of laugh that makes the whole moment feel lighter, warmer, maybe even a little magical. When he dropped me off later, Remy waved from the gate like a maniac, and Laksh just stood there with his protective big brother face. I tried to not make it obvious, but that night I couldn't stop smiling. A week later, Rohan invited all of us for a trek me, Remy, and Laksh. The weather was perfect, the view was breathtaking, and for once, life felt simple. We were laughing, clicking pictures, teasing Laksh about his stamina. When it happened, Laksh slipped on a wet rock and twisted his leg. Before I could even react, Rohan rushed forward. He didn't think twice. He just picked Laksh and carried him down the hill all the way. At the hospital, he stayed until the doctor came, making sure Laksh was okay. He even handled the nurses' questions better than I did. Calm, gentle, reliable. From that day on, Rohan became a part of our little circle. He'd drop by apartment often, sometimes with snacks, sometimes just to check on Laksh. Even when I wasn't home, we all started hanging out more. And somewhere between those long talks, easy laughs, and quiet moments, I fell for him completely. His kindness, his calm, his warmth, everything. A few days later, I finally texted him. Need to tell you something. He replied almost instantly. Me too. Park? Evening. My heart didn't rest the entire day. Every class, every minute felt like an eternity. When we met, he looked nervous but sweet. He was holding my favorite ice cream. I don't know how to say this, he began, scratching the back of his neck. Before he could finish, I smiled, heart pounding, and leaned in to kiss him. I think I know, I whispered. But he didn't smile back. He just stood there, frozen. Then, softly, almost apologetically, he said, I think you misunderstood. My stomach sank. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely holding together. I like someone else, someone close to you, he said quietly. I'm sorry. And in that instant, my mind screamed one name, Remy. I couldn't speak. I just turned around and walked away, every step heavier than the last. For days, I didn't leave my room. Remy kept calling, texting, even showing up at the door. But I ignored her. I couldn't face her, not after what I thought I knew. Finally, when I went back to college, I saw her waiting near the gate. The moment she spotted me, she ran over. Chaya, why are you ignoring me? She asked, breathless. I said nothing, just walked past her. She followed, confused, calling my name again and again, until suddenly she missed a step and slipped down the stairs. Everything happened so fast. Students screamed, people rushed over, and in the distance, I saw him. Rohan. He was standing there, frozen. No panic, no reaction. Just watching. Something inside me broke. All the pain, the humiliation, the confusion, it turned into pure anger. I helped Remy to the medical room, but I couldn't calm down. Something in me just snapped. I walked straight to Rohan. He was standing near the corridor, pretending not to see me. I stopped right in front of him. Wow, I said, voice trembling with sarcasm. Something happens to your loved ones and you're this calm? Impressive. He looked at me confused. What do you mean? Remy fell down. She's bleeding. And you didn't even bother to go check on her? He frowned. There were already so many people helping her. What difference does it make if I went too? I scoffed. Seriously? That's what your love for her looks like? He blinked. Wait, what? Love? I crossed my arms, glaring. Don't act clueless. You said you liked someone close to me. Rohan ran his hand through his hair, sighing. Oh God, I never said it was Remy. I frowned, confused. Then who? He looked at me for a long second, and then his eyes shifted, just slightly, towards the direction where Laksh was, walking with his friends. It took me a moment to understand, and when I did, my heart stopped. Laksh? I whispered. He looked down, cheeks red. Don't worry, he said softly. It's just one sided. He doesn't know. I'm not planning to tell him either. I just like him from a distance. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I spent days crying over him, and here he was, quietly carrying a heartbreak of his own. Something in me softened. I'm sorry, I murmured. He smiled faintly. Don't be. I don't even remember moving closer. I just hugged him. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. It felt heavy and light at the same time. Two people both loving the wrong person, somehow finding comfort in that truth. Turns out, I wasn't wrong about love. I was just looking in the wrong direction.